Hello everyone, welcome to Unfog with Dr. Atar Parveen. I hope you all are doing well and putting in all of your efforts and preparing well for your examinations. Now to help with your exam preparation just a little bit more, today I will discuss with you the biology part of the previous year question paper of Karnataka TET. Not only that, I will also discuss with you some important points, some important bits and topics from which the questions can be asked from, most likely to be asked from in this year's 2022 Karnataka TET question paper. Now, from this Karnataka 2021 question paper, paper number 2, the physics part and the chemistry part, they have already been discussed before. And the links for these videos are given in the description box below. So don't forget to check out the description box. Okay. Today I will discuss with you the biology part. Let's begin with our class. Now this question has been directly taken from the question paper. According to the question paper, the number of this question is 136. Now what this question is asking, this question is saying, Alexander Fleming discovered the antibiotic penicillin while working on this bacteria. He wants us to find out which bacteria that is. 4 options are given here. First option is Streptococcus bacteria. Second option is Pediococcus bacteria. Third option is Leuconostoc bacteria. And fourth option is Staphylococci bacteria. Now this question has been asked from the chapter Human Health and Diseases. Now, if you know, Alexander Fleming is one of the greatest scientists in the field of biology. He gave us the first antibiotic, which is the penicillin, the fully working and the fully efficient antibiotic was given by scientist Alexander Fleming. Now, how did he give us this antibiotic penicillin? It was all by an accident. How did this happen? Alexander Fleming, in the year 1928, he was investigating and studying this bacteria named as Staphylococcus aureus bacteria. Now, if you don't know, this bacteria is actually a pathogen. Pathogen means it is dangerous to our body. But it is not a very scary and extremely deadly dangerous to our body. But it can cause some minor skin infections. Some small infections can be caused by this bacteria. This name of this bacteria is Staphylococcus aureus bacteria. Now he was growing this bacteria on some culture dishes. Culture dishes means it is a glass dish, glass plate like thing which looks like this. Now he was growing this bacteria on this culture plate. These bacteria grows in the form of colonies. They'll form colonies like structures when they grow. So what happened? He observed one day that these colonies of Staphylococcus bacteria were infected or they were contaminated by some sort of fungus. Okay. And what this fungus was doing, it was killing these colonies. It was destroying these colonies of bacteria. Now he got very curious how this is happening. So he studied this fungus. So after studying this fungus, he found out that this fungus was belonging to a genus of fungus named as Penicillium. Okay. The full name is Penicillium notatum. Okay. So this fungus which was belonging to the genus Penicillium and whose full name was Penicillium notatum, this fungus was producing a substance which was known as penicillin. He named that substance as penicillin, and this substance penicillin was the one which was destroying these pathogens, which was destroying the colonies of this bacteria. So this is how he discovered the penicillin. So now we discussed the name of the bacteria before, right? The name of that bacteria is Staphylococcus aureus bacteria. And it is the option 4 which is matching with our answer. So that is the answer. Option number 4, Staphylococci bacteria. Next question we have here is question number 137. This question is asking, in this figure, the tissue which shows rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout life without undergoing fatigue is. And he gave one diagram like this, and he gave 4 options: smooth muscle tissues, striated muscle tissue, cardiac muscle tissue, and epithelium tissue. This question is asked from the chapter Structural Organization in Animals and Muscle Tissues. Okay. So now we have to find out the answer, right? So now if you look at the question, it is saying words like contraction and relaxation, right? So this contraction and relaxation movements, it is only shown by the muscles of our body. So by this, you can eliminate, you can remove this 4th option, because this epithelium tissue is not a muscle. So you can remove option number 4. Now we have to find out between smooth muscles, cardiac muscles and striated muscle tissues. But the answer here is the cardiac muscle tissue. Now you will ask, how is this the correct answer? Because if you look at the structure of the cardiac muscle tissue, it will have a lot of mitochondria in it. It will have a lot of mitochondria in it. So we know that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? So it will give the cardiac muscle tissue the energy to work continuously without undergoing fatigue. Undergoing fatigue means without getting tired. It doesn't get tired easily. If we do some task, if we do some work for continuously for a long time, we get tired, right? But cardiac muscle tissue doesn't get tired. Now, one more reason we have here is, so it is highly vascularized. Highly vascularized means it is supplied with a lot of blood capillaries. So we know that blood capillaries will carry blood in them. And blood is the carrier of oxygen in our body. It will carry oxygen to different parts of our body. And this oxygen, as we all know, is necessary to give us energy to work. We need more oxygen to work more efficiently, right? So this vascularization also helps the muscle tissue to work. Next we have is, it has a lot of cytoplasm in it. You will ask, what happens if there is a lot of cytoplasm in it? What is the use? If you remember, cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance. In that jelly-like substance, a lot of nutrients are present. Even for our body to work, we eat food, right? That food will have nutrients in it. That will give us energy to work. Just like that, cytoplasm will have nutrients in it. And that nutrients, they give energy, they give nourishment to the cardiac muscle tissue to work more efficiently, to work without getting tired. Okay. Next reason, the final reason we have is, it has a lot of glycogen in it. Now, glycogen is the stored type of energy. It is the stored type of energy in our body. Okay. So, this glycogen also gives cardiac muscle tissues to work efficiently and continuously without getting tired. So, like we all remember, let's revise these points together. Now, repeat with me. Even you are not along with me, repeat with me from the screen. Okay. Cardiac muscle tissue undergoes rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout life without undergoing fatigue because of 4 reasons. Those 4 reasons are, first one we'll write, it is highly vascularized. Vascularized. Then next we have, it has a lot of mitochondria, which is the powerhouse, so it will provide energy. Next we have is, it has a lot of cytoplasm, which will give it nourishment and nutrients. So, energy will get. Then last we have is glycogen, which is the stored type of energy in our body. This will give the cardiac muscle tissue energy to work. Okay. Now here I have noted down some different types of muscular tissues. Now we know this cardiac muscle tissue, right? Cardiac muscle tissue is found in our heart. Okay. Our heart is very important to us, right? So other two types we have here are smooth muscle tissue and striated muscle tissue. So let's take a look at them. We have the different types of muscular tissues, three types basically. So the first type of muscle we have here is skeletal muscle tissue. These muscles are attached to the skeleton and help in its movement. Okay. So we have our bones, right? Only bones cannot move alone. They need some support for showing movement. We can walk, we can run, we can write. That is all because of bones. Obviously, we will need bones, or else without bones we will be like jelly, we will fall down. Then after bones, we have muscles. When these two come together, we can show movements, we can run, walk, we can do whatever we want because of these skeletal muscle tissues and the bones. Then next we have here is smooth muscle tissue. So the smooth muscle tissues, they are involuntary muscles. So involuntary muscles means you don't have control over them. Here the skeletal muscle tissues, they are voluntary muscles. Okay, let's write that down here. They are voluntary muscles, means if you want to move, you can move them. If you don't want to move, you don't want to move them, like that. But here in involuntary muscles means you don't have control over them. Your autonomous nervous system is the one which will control the movement of these involuntary muscles. Okay, autonomous nervous system is the one which controls the muscles of our body. Okay, so this autonomous nervous system will control these involuntary muscles. Now it stimulates the contractility of the digestive, urinary, reproductive systems, blood systems and airways. So what we are saying here is, now we have stomach. Now let's take, since we said digestive, let's take our stomach as an example. Can you move your stomach muscles on your own? No, right? And can you move the muscles in your small intestine or on your own? If you want, if you can move, no, right? So that muscles, they are moved. The movement is controlled by the autonomous nervous system. Okay, you don't have the control over your muscles in the stomach, your small intestine, or your urinary bladder or reproductive systems, right? Your body controls it on its own. And even the blood vessels. Can you control the muscles present in blood vessels? Can you control how much amount of blood will flow through the capillaries or veins or arteries? We cannot control, right? And even in the airways. Airways means the inside the blood capillaries or which we have different ducts present in our breathing system, right? We cannot control those muscles on our own, right? So these all involuntary muscles. Okay, so they are all involuntary muscles, and these all involuntary muscles are controlled by the autonomous nervous system. Then next, third one we have is cardiac muscle tissue. So this cardiac word actually means heart. Okay, so this word cardiac means heart, and this cardiac muscle tissues, these are found only in heart. Our heart, it pumps blood to the top of our head. Against gravity, our blood will flow, and to the tip of our toes. If we are so tall, right? We are not very small organisms. We human beings are tall, right? So to the tip of the toes also, the heart pumps our blood. So for pumping that blood to so many far away points, heart requires muscles, and those muscles are known as cardiac muscles. Okay, so these cardiac muscles are only found in the heart. So now we have question number 138. So this is asking, a peptide bond is formed when carboxyl group of one amino reacts with another. And options are given as ketone group, then alcohol group, carboxyl group, and amino group. Okay. So this question is asked from the chapter biomolecules actually. But here he is asking that a peptide bond is formed between which two groups? One group he has given, carboxyl group. Now which other group will form the peptide bond together? Now let's write amino acids as A dot A. Okay. So this amino acid will form a peptide bond only when another amino acid is present. So this first amino acid and this second amino acid, together they will form two peptide. Together they will form one peptide bond. So now let me show you the structure of an amino acid. So this is the simple structure of an amino acid. As we can see, we have a single carbon here and it is having 4 bonds. From one of the 4 bonds, it has one hydrogen. It has one carboxyl group. Then it has one side chain R. This R can be any organic group, CH2, CH3, any organic group. Then we have one amino group. Now this is one amino acid that I have. Okay. Now if I want to form a peptide bond, then I'll have to bring one more amino acid towards it, right? So let me draw one more amino acid. Same amino acid I'll draw here. Okay. Here we have the carboxyl group. Then we have a side chain R group. We can also call it as. Then we have the amino group, which is NH2. Now this amino acid and this amino acid will form a bond. And how will they form a bond? They will lose one water molecule. Okay. So because they are losing one water molecule here, this is known as dehydration reaction. Dehydration means losing water, right? So what is the formula of water? H2O, right? So 2 hydrogens it should lose, 1 oxygen it should lose. Okay. So here OH and the H from the other amino acid, they will lose this water. 2H is there, 1 oxygen is there. They will lose this water minus H2O and they will form a peptide bond. But here one carboxyl group was involved in amino acid 1. And in amino acid 2, which group was involved? Amine group was involved. NH2, right? It is an amino group. So this amino group and carboxyl group, they together will form the peptide bond by the dehydration reaction, which is losing of water molecule. Okay. So we have carboxyl group. Okay, one is done. He already gave one. Now next we want the amino group. Amino group, where is it? It is in the option number 4. So answer is amino group. And that is how a bond is formed. Now regarding this, one more type of question I have written. Same type but in different words. So he is asking peptide bond is formed between. Now this time he didn't group and he didn't give any groups. Here he gave one group at least, right? He gave carboxyl group and asked us which other group is it. But here he didn't give us any groups. He was only asking that this peptide bond is being formed between which two groups. So we know the answer, right? Without even looking at the options, we can answer it is between carboxyl group and an amine group. So amino group and carboxyl group, it is given in the option number 3. That is C option here. Okay. So C option is given as the answer. Amino group and the carboxyl group. So next question we have the 139 question number. The mineral which reduces the storage of cholesterol and helps in the synthesis of insulin and enzymes is, the options are given as option 1 zinc, option 2 phosphorus, option 3 iron and option 4 calcium. if we look at this question, he's saying reduces the storage of cholesterol. Now, what is cholesterol? Now, imagine this is a blood vessel. Okay. Now, cholesterol is nothing but fats. Okay. So, these fats are getting stored. These are getting accumulated inside the walls of our blood vessels. Because of this, what will happen? Blood will flow irregularly through our vessels, right? This is not good. This should not happen. So because of the storage of cholesterol, the blood flow becomes irregular. Next we have is synthesis of insulin and enzymes. So next we have is insulin, and this insulin is produced by the beta cells of our pancreas. Okay. So beta cells of our pancreas, they produce the insulin hormone. So what does insulin hormone do? So imagine the blood sugar levels of our body increases abnormally. Okay. They are going to very, very high levels. So what happens? These beta cells of our pancreas, they will release this hormone insulin. And this insulin will reduce the blood sugar levels of our body. Then next we have enzymes. Okay. So these enzymes are nothing but proteins. Okay. These enzymes help in carrying out the body functions. Body will have different functions, right? So these enzymes help in carrying out the body functions. Those body functions can also be called as metabolic activities. Okay, metabolic activities, or we can also call it as metabolism. Okay, so it helps in carrying out the metabolic activities and metabolism. Now here he is asking the name of the mineral which reduces the storage of cholesterol and helps in the synthesis of insulin and enzymes. So the answer is zinc. Okay, so zinc is the mineral which will help in reducing these cholesterol and produces the insulin and enzymes. It helps in producing insulin and enzymes. So now that we are talking about minerals, let's study a little bit about them. So minerals are also important for bones, they are important for muscles, they are important for heart, and they are also important for brain working properly and for making enzymes and hormones. Okay. Now there are two kinds of minerals. Okay. One is macro minerals and the other is trace minerals. We can also call these trace minerals as micro minerals. So what is this macro minerals and micro minerals? So this word macro means large. So these minerals are required in large quantities by our body. Now we have trace minerals or micro minerals. Now this word micro means small. So micro minerals means these minerals are required in small quantities by our bodies. Now let's see some examples of macro minerals and micro minerals. So the examples we have is calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride and sulfur. These all are macro minerals, meaning they are required in large quantities by our body. Now next we have is trace minerals or micro minerals. So the examples are iron, manganese, copper, iodine, zinc, cobalt, fluoride and selenium. These all are trace minerals. Now how questions can be asked is, he'll give identify macro minerals and he'll give some 4 options. He'll give copper, iodide, cobalt and sulfur. But we know that sulfur is the macro mineral. So that should be the right answer. Or he'll ask identify which one is the micro mineral. Okay, and he'll give some 3 wrong options and 1 correct option. Then you have to find out the right answer. So now let's study a little bit about some of the minerals that we read here. So first we have is calcium. Calcium is the macro mineral, right? We have calcium here and it is the macro mineral. It is required in the formation of bones and teeth. Next we have is magnesium. Magnesium is a cofactor for metabolic enzymes. Now what this cofactor means is, if you remember some chemical reactions, in that chemical reaction one catalyst will be there, right? So to help that catalyst also sometimes some element must be, some compound must be required. So that compound or element, it can be called as a cofactor in biological reactions. So this magnesium is the cofactor for metabolic enzymes. Next we have is transportation of oxygen, iron. Now we have hemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin is the blood, right? So in this hemoglobin, the heme part means iron, Fe, and this globin part is actually protein. Okay, so this Fe helps in the transportation of oxygen. Next we have potassium. So this potassium helps in the regulating our heartbeat. Now next we have is boosts body immunity and heals wound, that is zinc. Then we have chlorine. Chlorine, it produces hydrochloric acid in our stomach. Did you know our stomach is having concentrated HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. This hydrochloric acid helps in breaking down of the food. We eat food, right? That is broken down into small absorbable substances by the concentrated HCl acid which is present in our stomach. So next we have is iodine. So this iodine, it produces the thyroid hormones. We have the thyroid gland, right? That thyroid gland will produce thyroxine hormones or thyroid hormones. And deficiency of iodine causes goiter. Remember, deficiency of iodine will cause goiter. So this iodine is very important. It produces thyroid hormones. Then we have phosphorus. Then this phosphorus helps in the synthesis of DNA. It helps in making DNA. If you remember, DNA is a double helical structure, right? It is something like this, right? Now, this one helical structure, if I take, it will have one sugar group, deoxyribose sugar. If we are talking about DNA, it will have one deoxyribose sugar. It will have one nitrogenous base. The nitrogenous base can also look like this, like a 2-ring structure. Okay. So this one nitrogenous base will be there and one phosphate group is there. Okay. This phosphate group and such many, this is one monomer, one nucleotide I am showing, means simple unit which will make up the DNA. Okay. So that simple unit is known as monomer. Okay. And the monomer of DNA is nucleotide. So the structure that I have shown here is of nucleotide. Okay. So such many nucleotides will come together and they will form DNA. How will they come together? This one nucleotide molecule is present, no? One more nucleotide molecule will have. Let's take an example. Okay, then we have nitrogenous base and this like this. And then we have the phosphate group. Now this phosphate group and this phosphate group, they both will form a bond. This bond is known as the phosphodiester bond. Okay. So these two phosphate groups will form the phosphodiester bond between them. And like this, many nucleotides will form the phosphodiester bonds between them. And they will make up our DNA. Okay. So this explanation is also important, everyone. He can ask the name of the bond, or he can ask what is the monomer of the DNA. It is nucleotide. So please remember this also. Okay. Then we have synthesis of DNA we did, and bones also. Bones are rich in calcium and phosphorus. Okay. So phosphorus is required. Then we have sodium. Sodium helps in regulating the body fluids and it maintains the pH balance of our body. Then we have copper. This copper helps in the metabolism of iron and enzymes. Okay. We have iron present in hemoglobin, right? And we have iron that we take in through our food. It helps in the metabolism of iron and the enzymes. Next we have is selenium. This selenium functioning of antioxidant enzymes. It helps in the functioning of antioxidant enzyme. Next question is, sucrose is a disaccharide made up of glucose plus galactose, or glucose plus glucose, or glucose plus mannose, or glucose plus fructose. Okay. This question is actually from the chapter biomolecules. So he's saying disaccharide. So if you look at this word disaccharide, you can divide this into two parts, di and saccharide. Di means two. Saccharide means sugar. Okay. So we have words like mono, di, tri, tetra, then penta. So these means one. This di means two. Tri means 3, tetra means 4, penta means 5 and so on. Okay. So he is saying that this sucrose is a disaccharide for sure. But what is it made up of? What are the two sugars that are making sucrose? So the answer is glucose and fructose. Okay. The glucose and fructose, these two are actually monomers. In the last slide, I talked about how nucleotide is a monomer, and when these nucleotide means one different monomers, they will come together and they will form a polymer. Polymer means it is having a lot of monomers. Okay. So this glucose and fructose, these two are monomers. And these two are forming sucrose. Okay. There is no specific explanation behind this. So you will have to by heart this. Okay. So sucrose, these are formed by glucose and fructose. Now let's look at some different disaccharides. We have maltose. Okay. This is formed by glucose and glucose. Then we have lactose. Lactose is formed by monomers like galactose and glucose. Okay. Now let's take a look at some digestible disaccharides which are present in our food. Okay. First one we have is sucrose. Table sugar that we use in cooking sweets, right? That is nothing but sucrose. Then we have lactose. This lactose is also called as milk sugar. So milk sugar means nothing but there will be a little sweetness to the milk, right? The natural milk without adding sugar, there will be some little sweetness to the milk. That sweetness is added by the lactose present in the milk. Okay. And this lactose is a disaccharide which is made up by monomers, galactose and glucose. Now next we have is maltose. Now this maltose is actually present in vegetables. Okay. This can be found in vegetables and also in grains. We have wheat, right? In wheat also maltose is present. So now moving on to the next question. Here we have plants with the well-differentiated reproductive tissues that ultimately make seeds phanerogams are. And the options are given as Thallophyta and Pteridophyte, Thallophyta and Bryophyte, Angiosperms and Pteridophytes, and Angiosperms and Gymnosperms. Now this question has been asked from the chapter Plant Kingdom. Now if we recollect, if we remember this Plant Kingdom chapter, it was divided into different groups of plants, right? First we had algae. Second we had bryophytes, right? Then next we had pteridophytes. Then we had gymnosperms. And we had angiosperms. Okay. Now he is asking well-differentiated reproductive tissues and seeds phanerograms, meaning seed producing plants. Now those plants, seed producing plants are gymnosperms and angiosperms. So the answer is angiosperms and gymnosperms. Okay. So some other questions that can be asked from plant kingdom are who are known as the amphibians? Who are known as the amphibians of the plant kingdom? Let's write plant kingdom as PK. So here amphibians of the plant kingdoms are no one but bryophytes. Okay. This question can be asked. This is an important point. Remember this. Then next question he can ask is the vascular tissues. Vascular tissues means xylem, phloem. These vascular tissues first appeared in which plant group? So the answer to that question is pteridophytes. Pteridophytes. Okay. So these important points you remember. The next question we have is the leucoplasts which stores proteins in plants are. I think in this question instead of leucoplasts it should have been the word plastids. Then it would have made more sense. Okay. So let's read these questions as the plastids which stores proteins in plants are. Okay. The options are given as eleoplasts, amyloplasts, chloroplasts and eleuroplasts. This question has been asked from the chapter Cell the Unit of Life. Okay. So first we have to know what are plastids, right? So these plastids are nothing but storage bodies of the plant cells. Okay. They are organelles, cell organelles that will store different substances in plant cells. Okay. So there are different types of plastids we have. Like we have etioplasts, chromoplast, chloroplast, leucoplast, amyloplast, eleoplast and proteinoplast. So you'll have to learn all these different types of plastids and what all they are storing. Okay. So, but he is asking the plastic which stores the proteins. Okay. So, etioplast, it is a storage body which will store the precursor of chlorophyll. Before the chlorophyll is formed, some different type of substance is present in place of chlorophyll. It is the precursor of chlorophyll that is stored by the etioplasts. Then we have the chromoplast. So chromoplast means it will store all that pigments, different colors flowers will have, right? Some different leaf colors are also there. Some dark green, light green, all these different types of color pigments, they are stored by the chromoplasts. Then we have chloroplast. Chloroplast, this stores the chlorophyll. Then we have the leucoplasts. Leucoplasts, these store the fatty acids and amino acids. Then we have amyloplasts. These store the starch and and sugars. Then we have ileoplasts. Ileoplasts will store lipids and oils. Proteinoplast, last type of plastid we have. These are the sites of enzyme or protein activity. Okay. So they will store enzymes. Okay. Now let me add one more type of plastid to this. It is the aleuroplast. Okay. And it is the aleuroplast which stores the proteins. Okay. It stores the proteins in plant cells. So now we have our answer. What type of plastid will store proteins in plants? It is aleuroplasts. So what these aleuroplasts do? So these aleuroplasts, they store proteins and they modify these proteins present in the plant cell. Okay. Now moving on to our last question. Okay. So this question says, amino acids are organic compounds containing an amino group and an acidic group as substituents on the same carbon. Hence are called alpha amino acids. They are, and the options are given as substituted ethanes, second option is substituted methanes, third option is substituted ethyl group, and fourth option is substituted glycerol. This question has been again asked from the chapter biomolecules. Okay. Now we have already discussed the structure of amino acid before. Remember, we had one central carbon and it was having 4 different bonds, right? One bond it was making with hydrogen. Then other bond it was making with the carboxylic group, which is COOH. Then we had the R group, alkyl group or the substitute group. Then we had an amine group which is called as NH2, right? Right? Now all these 4 different substituents are present on the same carbon, right? So we'll call it as the alpha carbon. Now this amino acid is a monomer, right? So this will have only one carbon on it and it has only one carbon here. So this one carbon only, now we are substituting here different groups and making a amino acid. Okay. Now if we look at methane also, it will have a C, then we have CH4. This is methane, right? Now this methane structure CH4 and this amino acid structure, they both look same, right? But only instead of these 3 groups, we have 3 hydrogens here. And because it is having one carbon atom, it is a methyl substituted group. Okay. So the answer should be substituted methanes. So that was today's last question. I hope you enjoyed my video. And if you enjoyed, please like, share and subscribe our channel. It motivates and encourages us a lot to make more videos. And also, if you want to join our Telegram group, The link is given in the description box below. Don't forget to check out the description box. I hope you all keep preparing well for your exam and come out with flying colors. So all the very best for your exam. See you all in the next lecture. Bye bye.